Serious, people involved in incest, how did it affect your relationship afterward? My cousin caught me jerking off and told me that she wanted to see me finish. I was 15, so she would have been about 14-15. She was a bit sheltered, and so she just kind of wanted to see how things worked. Although it was sexual, it's not like we did anything. We're fairly close and haven't really talked to about it, but I've been told by friends that she and I seem a little too comfortable around each other. TLDR, everything is fine. Edit, in case people actually see this, I'd like to point out that I understand the taboo surrounding it, but I really just don't care. I have a very easy time separating physical attractions and romantic ones. So if I want to duck my cousin, it's because she's an attractive young lady. The cousin part doesn't bother me as long as it isn't incredibly prevalent. I had a three-way with my girlfriend and her identical twin sister. It was surprisingly very open and they were really cool with it. They have a very chill relationship with each other. My girlfriend and I have never been closer. 10/10 will do again. My sister and cousins all pushed the incest envelope. We were all girls and would play house, so to speak, but some of us really took it far by making out and touching each other down yonder. We all hardly remember now and don't care because we were young and curious. It's life. I dated my best friend for a while until his dad caught us making out and told us that we were cousins. We didn't believe it at first, but my dad is a genealogy buff, so we asked him. Sadly, 2 generations back there was an inheritance dispute in which my side kept the family name and his changed theirs to an alternate spelling of our great-great-great-grandma's maiden name. We tried to keep in touch for a while, but it always felt weird and different. Haven't spoken to him in about 4 years now, but I'm sure we're cool. Edit, I'm sure this isn't as scandalous as you were hoping. But it was my experience with incest. So you were like, what? 4th cousins or something? If you could legally wed, then it isn't incestuous. A good friend of mine from high school used to make jokes about fingering his 15-year freshman sister. We were juniors. And we all just thought he was just being grossly humorous. As many of us were. Albeit he was pretty over the line. No more than 2 days after HS graduation, he tells myself and 4 other friends at a party that he had sex with her. There was no joking in his tone this time. Although still not completely confirmed. We quickly dropped contact with him. He was on a dark path with drugs and serious crimes also. From what I know now, it did happen. And she consented to it. Who knows how long it had gone on before that. Both attempted suicide at different points after it got out. IDK how something like that starts. I don't have a younger sibling. But damn. What a twisted situation that became. 5 years later. I'm totally out of contact with them. But I feel for both of them. Especially now that it is well known by people from our high school. Edit, this isn't a bad kid either. He was funny and everybody knew him. My only guess is that there might have been some parental guardian abuse involved earlier in life. From what I hear, they are both still alive and seem to be doing okay. A somewhat friend from grammar school whose family was literally straight from the hills of Kentucky a few years before, told us once around 7th or 8th grade about playing doctor or something with his year-older sister all the time. We were all weirded out and kinda have left him on his own after that. 30 years later we moved back to the old neighborhood and ran into him. He's still a little hillbillyish but has a successful business. Married. Kids and all that. Didn't go any further into the whole sister thing, but I chalk that up to the hills of Kentucky thing and one hopefully grows out of. Short version is, my older brother made me jerk off with him onto the carpet. And rubbed off on me in bed when I was young. Later. He then made me watch him have sex with my older sister. I was 9. She was 13. He then made me have sex with my sister. I was prepubescent. She was passive. We then sandwiched with my brother on the bottom and my sister the middle and me on he top with my big dig up her asshole. Later my brother moved out and I continued to demand sex from my sister. Eventually she became sick and moved out of house. I had a girlfriend at the time who was abused by her uncle. And my next girlfriend was abused by her father while I was still abusively sexually involved with my sister. To answer the OP, the impact on my relationships is significant. My intimate, work and friendships. I don't have any functional relationship with my parents or siblings. I can't make friends. Sexually misinterpret all situations. Have serious problems with boundaries. And my wife can't ask about my history before our relationship. I'm in ongoing therapy and my family is functioning well. TLDR, the impact is huge for serious incest. Brother made me have sex with my sister when I was prepubescent. I continued having sex with my sister during my teenage years. I now have ducked up relationships with everyone. Edits, typo stuffs. Me and cousin used to go to the same school. Sat on the same table. Always hung out. We were really fond of each other and before we knew it, we fell in love. We both come from a culture where this sort of thing is massive taboo. We knew all along that it was wrong. Mostly because no matter what we could never tell anyone and we could never have got married. But honestly it never felt wrong. We were very much in love and felt we were each other's soulmates. People were always suspicious of us because we were always together but I think they thought it was harmless. About 6 months after we were together mother found out. My dad and me drove to his house. Had a chat with his parents. His parents were still convinced that this was a misunderstanding and held me accountable for trying to get close to him. We had to be extra careful from then and I wasn't allowed to hang out with him anymore. We were together for 2.5 years. Some of the most happiest and worst times of my life were with him. As we grew older and hit our 20s, we both changed and the relationship wasn't working out anymore. We had a nasty breakup. We told our friends after we broke up that we were together. But I've gotten over it. I've had other boyfriends since then and he's engaged to a girl. Because we have the same group of friends. I still see him sometimes. With his fiancée mostly. It was strange at first but I'm used to it now. But he's happy and that's good. I would say no regrets but I am not sure. People often ask me when the first time I had sex. My answer is 16, which is the first time I had sex with some not related. The truth is at the age of 13 I had sex with my cousin. She was 12 at the time. And caught me watching porn. She watched it with me. And she asked if she could try out some of the stuff. It felt good. We always used condoms and knew what we were doing was really wrong. We had sexual relations for years. Until she met what would then become her husband. She's now married to that guy. She admitted to me that me and her husband are the only two people she's ever slept with. As per our relationship, we only discussed it once after the fact when she was married years later. I was 19, she was 18. Outside of that, we talk a lot. I can't say it negatively affected our relationship. I guess I'm lucky in that regard. There is one issue that I have never discussed. You see, when she was 15 she met the guy who would become her husband. He slept with her and shortly after he slept with her she was pregnant. I slept with her just a few days prior to him, so there is a chance her oldest son is actually my kid. However, I've decided it's best to never bring that issue up. Her husband is a really great guy. A great father. And to bring that fact up would be way too serious of a topic to discuss. If you're wondering, her kid is perfectly healthy. No learning issues. Fit. Full of energy, good on them. She also had 3 other kids. 1 girl and 3 boys. She turned into a baby making machine. I have the same problem. At what age did I first have sex? Well, 14 with my girlfriend. Or 9 with my older sister. Or 7 with my brother. Huh. The real answer is not very socially acceptable. Probably not exactly what you were looking for. But I've seen my cousins engaging in sex. It was years ago. Before any of us were really even old enough to know what sex was. My cousins wanted to show me something they had seen in a movie. And proceeded to take their clothes off. The girl got on top of the boy and started humping him. I was older than them and knew it was wrong. But I wasn't old enough to really know what to do about it. I don't know if either of them remember it, or if they choose to forget. But I can't look at them the same way again. I don't like being around either of them anymore because I'm always thinking about that moment. My teenage, 15-16, cousin put his fingers inside my vag when I was about 9 or 10. We were in the swimming pool playing Marco Polo and he told me to hide with him. When I started to squirm, he told me to be quiet or it would be my fault if we were caught. I don't know if I thought caught referred to the game or what he was doing to me under the water. I'm in my 40s and I remember it vividly. I trusted him. He violated me. I didn't understand. But it felt wrong. I stayed away from him at all costs in the future. Even as we grew up into adulthood. I knew he knew. And he knew I knew. As an only child, I used to love the time spent at my grandparents' house with all of my cousins. But it became easier and easier to separate myself from my family. I made excuses for why I couldn't attend family functions. Until I became completely estranged from my extended family. The fact that I had a disagreement with my favorite uncle didn't help either. So I just drifted away from them all. Even though I desperately still love them. I had an alcoholic father who abandoned me as a child. As a result of this combination, I have a lot of trouble with my desire to seek validation from men. Not in a sexual way. But just in a big brotherly fatherly. I'm proud of you for being you sort of way. I wish I had someone like that in my life. I know it is wrong. But it just feels like it's my fault, that I don't deserve to feel valued. I didn't tell anyone until about 5 years ago when I told my mother. She didn't know what to say. This is her family, her sister's son. She said that it was terrible. But it felt like she was blowing off my guilt and feelings when she quickly changed the subject. We don't talk about it. It seems so stupid that a chance encounter 30 years ago could still affect me like this. I'm fairly certain that my cousin drugged me at a concert. I had a few. But not near enough to get me as ducked up as I was. In the car he kept touching my leg and trying to rub my crotch. I kept pushing him away and he was saying it's okay. We're only second cousins. It's legal for second cousins to be married. I just zipped my hoodie up and curled into a ball in my seat that would have made it difficult for him to do anything. And I stayed like that for the rest of the 2-hour drive home. Edit, he supplied the booze. But wouldn't drink any of it, which makes me think he drugged me even more. God, that's ducked up. I hope you cut him out of your life. Probably not what everyone is hoping for. But a very good friend of mine once confessed to me that his kinda hot cousin gave him a BJ after a party. I never told anyone and it hasn't happened again. But it completely changed the way I look at him now. Does it really change who he is? Sorry, I look very differently at incest with consent at older ages without ever wanting it myself. I think it's kinda nasty. But still not my issue. When I was about 3 or 4 years old, my cousin who is a few years older than me wanted me to play a game with him. This involved him touching me, but no insertion. This was not consensual. It continued on for a bit. Maybe close to a year or so. We would play the game whenever he asked me to. And would even mock me for liking him. Eventually it ended and we never really spoke about it again. Sometimes things feel awkward but I do still love my cousin. It's believed by my other siblings and myself that our older brother and a second cousin had a relationship while he was in college. He also started a family reunion yearly camping trip for our generation that I think may been set up as a yearly chance to try to nail her during the summer. He started a rule immediately about if you wanted to bring us so you had to be dating them for 3 years. Which excluded his current girlfriend from coming. Eyebrows were raised but they were both in their late 20s and are consenting adults.